I kind of feel like we're beginning a new world where folks like you and I, who grew up on the East Coast talking about how you're a Met Jet fan because they played in Shea Stadium together, right? Or you're a Yankee Giant fan because they played in Yankee Stadium together. And you're dating yourself when you say that sort of thing. That the comments of, man, the Big 12 is in Nevada and the Big 10 is in Los Angeles, we're going to wind up dating ourselves saying, I remember when. This is it. Like we are living in the watershed moment of collegiate athletics writ large and football right now.
Right. And I think there's the majority of fans do not remember the old Southwestern Conference. They do not remember
the SWAC.
Well, that was the Southwestern. Yeah, there's the SWAC was one of the HBCU conferences. That one, which was the one that obviously had all the Texas schools and was like infamous for, the SMU cheating and all of that.
Yes.
That was a long time ago, but even the Big 8 was a long time ago. Then it became the Big 12. And, I sometimes catch myself and I'll say the Pac-10 when I mean the Pac-12 because it changed. Speaking of the Northeast, like you and I remember when Penn State wasn't in the Big 10.
They were independent like Notre Dame.
Well, yeah. And they were independent like Miami was. And before the Big East, I have like great special feeling for Big East basketball, right? Because we're of that era of the 80s of Louis and Boeheim and John Thompson. But, then the Big East was football. But then that went away and people adjust. I think this will be a little harder for a lot of folks who are, at the end of, so you're talking about the media days. So it was Big 12 was there, and then the Mountain West was there. And then there was, at the end of it, there was like a cocktail party for the two remaining schools of what was the Pac-12. That's Oregon State and Washington State.
What do you mean? There was a cocktail party for?
There was an event. The mascots were there. Some of the players were there. I mean, look, Washington State, as much turnover as they've had to deal with for all sorts of reasons, they beat Wisconsin the last 2 years, and Oregon State had some really good teams under Jonathan Smith in recent years, but they got left behind, and now they're playing some hybrid schedule of, their old teams and the teams that they're probably lumped in with. But that's, they're the saddest part of this, I feel like, because.
Did you go to this affair?
I did. I popped in there before I left.
Was there a cash bar?
It was not a cash bar. The food was good. Everything was set up. They treated it well. Merton Hanks, who I'm sure you know well.
Of course.
Merton was a long time, the guy behind football in the conference, and he's still connected to it. And so you see a lot of familiar faces. And I think the product will, those two schools, they still have good coaches. They still have some good players. But it's just, I don't think they're going to completely fall off the radar because you have to keep in mind, you have Stanford and Cal, along with SMU, who are now in the ACC, which the Stanford and Cal piece feels like the most random of this. But who knows how stable the ACC is. And so could there be another swing of conference realignment? I suspect there will be.
I don't know why I'm so fascinated by the fact that
you would have liked to have been at that cocktail party.
You damn straight I would have. Yeah. Washington State, Oregon State.
The mascots.
Getting to get what were the mascots doing? The tray pass for the food? Like
the mascots, I think, had the sunglasses on. It was a kind of cool look for them.
And it was in just an establishment in Las Vegas?
It was like, in the Bellagio, there is the Spago. Well, yes. On the other side, I feel like I'm name dropping big here. On the other side was
Vegas,
Big Suites, and it was a nice setup. It was like, I give them credit for leveraging the people who were there, and I thought it was good. I think they're going to do the best they can.
What are they going to do? Just
they're going to try to keep playing. I mean, they're going to get money from somehow how this is all cycled out. But I would use this example. So last year, again, Washington State, they start out pretty hot and really good quarterback they had at the time, who's now transferred more money to go to Miami. But last year they got off to a fast start. Then they go on, have a bye week. And in the bye week, from talking to coaches who'd been there, they just said it was almost like the players kind of everything hit them of all the transition that they were going through, that they were no longer going to be there was no longer a Pac-12. It was like while the games were being played and while they were in the middle of it, but that like bye week there was a hiccup, and from that point on it just felt like their season unspooled.
So what you mentioned moments ago that you think there's more expansion coming, like what?
I think there's more turnover because
what do you think?
The ACC just does not feel stable at all. You know, you have all this saber rattling between Florida State, Clemson. You know, you have other commodities, but whether it's North Carolina, Virginia, Miami. I mean, we'll see how it plays out, but it just feels like it's a weird situation right now. Does that mean the SEC is going to want any of those teams? Does that mean the Big Ten is going to want any of those teams? I suspect the Big 12 would love a couple of those teams because they're bigger brands than anything they have right now.
Which teams? Florida State, right?
I don't know how Florida State would love the move to the Big 12, but I think they would love the other two power conferences. You know, if it's Florida State, if it's Clemson, if it's Miami, if it's North Carolina, I mean, those are all bigger brands. Now, some of those schools haven't had the success that, let's say, Utah has over the last decade in football. You know, I mean, Miami's run, you know, we know all the legendary football players who came through and 5 national titles, but in 20 years to this point, they've had, you know, one really good season. Oklahoma State's had a bunch more than that. A bunch of these other schools in the Big 12 have, and so we'll see. I mean, this could be a big year, I think, for Miami, but we'll see. We've heard that before.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.